It is Mia Shambles. Very, very sad. Hi, hello, and welcome to the library. I hope that you are doing okay today. I am, although I'm kind of like extremely busy right now. 1 million projects that I need to do. And yeah, like I'm running late on a lot of things. We can even do the emote live if you want. Let me open all my things and I can try to add the emote right now, live. I need to check. Yeah. Hello, May. I hope that you are doing all right. Where is it? My dashboard. I need to check. Where is it though? Am I actually going insane? Okay, so wait, I need to take the image. Surely. What are you doing here, Ben? What are you doing here? I hope that you're doing alright though. Very, very funny. Okay, so now probably I should just be able to add it immediately. Desho? It's Ben on the YouTube chat. Ben is indeed on the YouTube chat. Okay. Can I, is it enough? Can I? Okay, so YouTube chat. Little bro is on the YouTube chat. Okay, normally you have access to the emote. If you don't, perhaps you can just refresh. You can refresh the page and you should be able, hopefully, to see the new emote. I can't do that like on my end. Very, very, very good. Nano is sleeping right now, so probably there won't be like any opportunities to use it. Okay, so that's done. We are doing, you know, things properly. So as I said just before, I was like extremely busy. I did half of my Japanese of my textbook today, so I need to get that done afterwards. I'm so glad it works so well in tiny size. I think you were cooking very, very hard with that one. It is very good. You need croissant flavored ice cream. I think it would be a bit insane. I mean, don't you have like, sorry, I'm dying. Like croissant is mostly like butter, right? So it's basically searching for like buttered flavored ice cream. I mean, I can see the vision to some extent. Okay, so I can close that. But yeah, and thank you again to May. She is really also working overtime for the stream. It is crazy. So yeah, my Japanese is like a bit in shambles. I did not do piano today yet. We should do like a piano stream at some point, by the way. And I was working on, on a lot of research, like the 3 topics that are like keeping me busy lately. So mumming, fishing, and food culture in Japan. Come on, the Twitch chat. I do things I find fun, and that was very fun to draw. Well, I'm very glad. So I was also working on food culture, and I will like transition to like the other scene so you can like kind of see that like. So I was the idea, if you remember, is that I want to do a series of 12 lectures in the following year, the following school year. So it will last between October and probably April, something like that. Or May, I don't really know. At 1 episode every 2 weeks on average. And so I'm basically trying to come up with like interesting ideas that we can explore during those lectures. Bro forgot his Twitch password. Forced to YouTube chat. I mean, I like YouTube as like a streaming platform, so don't worry. It's just that I cannot show you on stream, unfortunately. But yeah, I came up like earlier today with some ideas, and I was doing that before stream, that we can explore. Like, I really want to talk about like sushi, obviously. I think it's very interesting, especially because nowadays everybody has eaten some sort of like sushi. You need Miyabi Claire de Lune. I mean, we can do that at some point. We need to plan like a piano stream maybe after I come back from break. Sushi is interesting because like there is a very specific like type of sushi that people tend to eat, be it in Japan or outside of Japan, but like there's much more variety around the world and around Japan in general, because the main sushi, let's say, subgenre that we are like eating is basically the Tokyo sushi. But there are very interesting regions where sushi is very different and very interesting, like fermented rice, very, very, a lot of very interesting differences. And I want to showcase that. The fermented fish thing sounds really interesting. It is, and we will talk about that. I think it's quite interesting. I want to talk about meat in Japan because meat was not part of that, the traditional Japanese food culture, and it was introduced by American people after the war. And there has been a situation in the 60s and 70s where meat became like really like a big thing, and nowadays like when you think about Japan, you will think about meat to some extent. Like it's a big part of Japanese cuisine, and I want to explore what it means like for Japan to have introduced meat that quickly, how people adapted to it, how agriculture did adapt to those changes, and also what it means like in terms of health in general. Wagyu, exactly. So I want to talk about the gourmet culture as well, and how like part of the gourmet culture is a performance. You kind of like go to certain place because it makes you look good. You go to certain ramen shops or whatever because that's what is trending on social media and other places. And there's kind of like an avoidance to some extent today of like the very, small hole in the wall manned by, married couples in their 70s. And yeah, gourmet culture nowadays, it's like linked to internet, to social media, and it has changed the landscape of like Japanese restaurant culture. There was always like a gourmet culture with like magazines and stuff, but there has been a lot of evolutions lately, and I want to talk about that. Global connections, exporting staples and importing new ideas. I think the key example is probably sushi again. Like Californian sushi rolls. This is not traditional Japanese food, but it was invented abroad and it came back to Japan, and now in Japan you can find those things. And it's really about like how Japan is exporting some ideas, some recipes, and then those ideas come back after some transformation in Japan. And kind of like the same thing, in Italy with like pizza, that was heavily influenced by the US, and now it's coming back to Italy in a very specific way. So we'll talk about like these international exchanges. Japan and Denmark fished-based economics +2. Probably we can talk about like fish a bit more, I don't know. Maybe that could be like an entire thing, we can say. Like for fishing, probably we can say like fish culture and the state of fisheries. It's like a topic that I will already explore like in the video that will be released in September or October. So I don't know if we'll do a full lecture out of it, but maybe we can talk about fish. Cooking magazines and the household restaurant divides. So basically like you have cooking magazines that were made either for women or for men, and they would like tackle very different topics. For men, it was like the restaurants, going outside, discovering new things. And for women, it was mostly like how to cook at home. And both were very, advanced. They would really push forward the frontier of cuisine, but in different directions. And this is sort of like distinction, like what you eat at home and what you eat outside. There is still like a big difference between the two nowadays. And I want to explore that. Food as an identity, preserving lifestyle and declining rural areas and after catastrophes. I think it's pretty like self-explanatory. I want to showcase like regions that are trying to maintain recipes and to teach the newer generation to cook in a certain way, because like those very specific recipes are kind of disappearing because of the demographic decline of Japan. And after, Fukushima, 2011, entire region were like devastated, and food was a way, especially for people that were displaced in other regions. It was a way to connect with your hometown and stuff. So food as an identity. Then a deep dive into the rice crisis of this year. If you have followed a bit the news or you are like a bit Japan peeled, you have seen that the price of rice has really like surged earlier this year because of bad harvest, and people were not ready for that. Like government and like other local groups were not ready for that, and we had like a very massive hike in prices for rice. And I kind of want to explain the situation, what really happened and why it was kind of an obvious situation considering the history of rice agriculture in Japan. So this will be an exploration that will start in the 60s, and we'll explore that over like 2 hours and try to understand what Japan is doing with rice, and why does it matter so much lately. So ramen shops and cafe food and gender divide. It will be the idea that like some places outside are like made for men and others are made like for women. Like there is still like some kind of like stigma of going into certain places if you're not like the targeted gender. Ramen, it's really a food for men. And if you go into like restaurant in Japan, you won't find a lot of women eating ramen during like break. because it's just like not, it's a very macho atmosphere, ramen shops to some extent. And in the flip side, if you're a man and you go into like cafe and you try to eat, I don't know, or bakeries and you try to eat sweets, it will be a bit weird for you still. Things are changing, hopefully, fortunately, but this is still the case a little bit. And I really want to talk about like how in Japan certain foods are kind of like targeting certain demographics, and how can we change that basically. I saw a sumo wrestler at a ramen place, and they had like 5 babes with them. I mean, obviously, it is, it is changing a little bit, but also like it depends on like what kind of shop it is. Like, is it like a very popular shop and it's like everybody is going there, or is it a very small shop, only like locals are eating there? Like obviously it's a bit different, it's changing, but I think it's still like there's still something like that today. And on the topic of gender divide, I want to talk about tea ceremony in Japan, because, and the question is it like an affair of women nowadays? And the answer is like somewhat, because tea ceremony, like tea practitioners in Japan, they're overwhelmingly women. It's not even close. And the question is like, why is it the case? And there are like historical reasons for that. And how are things changing nowadays? Like, why do only like women practice tea ceremony nowadays? And it will be like an interesting exploration of like traditions in Japan, and like certain ceremonies that were really left to women, or certain activities like for example karuta. This is also a very like woman activity to some extent, and I think it can be interesting to explore that, and we can talk about tea ceremony in general as well. And my last idea was the rise of the konbini, so the convenience store, and what it means for Japan nowadays. Like, it's so convenient to be able to buy whatever you want at whatever hour of the night or the day. And how is it changing the landscape of Japan? Do you really cook at home, or do you go to the konbini and you buy something there? And I think it's a very interesting question, especially with the demographics that are targeted. Konbini was mostly for young people, when it really rose into prominence. And nowadays, kind of like everyone is using the konbini, the older generations as well. And I think that, there's many like interesting things to say about that, especially because we don't necessarily have this outside of Asia, I think. Like, you don't go to the konbini and only eat, pre-packaged meals, right? In Japan, like, there is this very specific, like, type of foods where it's like, it's not fast food, but it's not like, but you don't have to cook yourself, and it's like a middle ground that is very appealing to Japanese people. I would love to cook my own food. I mean, obviously, it depends on like where you live, your conditions, material conditions, but we just, in average, we just don't have the same culture than Japan. So that's basically all the ideas that I have. I think, it's pretty interesting, at least for me. And I need to order that, make a logical progression with everything. And this will be like a series of 12 or like 13 lectures on the topic. And I think we can have fun with that. So this is part of my educational pivot next year. And, hopefully with like the 2D model, it will be like a bit more interactive as well. So that's basically it for this whole topic of like history of food in Japan. We'll talk about that like at a later point when, you know, or maybe not, or maybe we won't talk about it and you'll just have to wait for the lecture. But that's basically it. I can close that probably, and we can actually go to the game, because today we are continuing Trials of Innocence, and this will be like a short-ish stream. I think we'll do like the trial and not much more. Maybe we'll yap at the end if it's very short, but I kind of need to work, unfortunately. I need to finish the Mooming lecture, so I can't stay here like for 4 hours, unfortunately. Miyabi is very busy lately. Again, overworking. Okay, so we were at the beginning of the trial. The trial is about to start, though I have no clue about the truth. I mean, we don't really have like a lot of ideas of what really happened. Like, we don't even know why she really... I mean, we know that like she pushed the... Well, she moved the corpse to avoid suspicion, but this is like really cooked. Okay. It's my first time going to court without Chief. I'm a bit nervous. Be cool and get yourself together. Fighto. Luna Tietie, you look so pale. Are you okay? Well, Annie caught me. Without Chief around, I am a bit worried. And also with Mr. Sapphire's careless personality and her suspicious actions at the crime scene, it will be cooked. Don't think too much. There is a saying, we will cross that bridge when we come to it. I mean, we are already on that bridge, but it can soothe your nerves. I want some tea. I should have made some tea. The defense assistant seat is empty today. I've already asked, and even an intern without certification can participate. How about you sit next to me today? I'm so glad, then I can closely observe your brilliant defense. I hope that I won't be defeated by the prosecutor so quickly and live in embarrassment. Miss Lawyer, you're so early. Miss Sapphire, here you come. Lemon tea, give me a cup. She is crazy. Relax before the trial. It's just a trial. What's the big deal? I mean, it's your trial. A murder trial is about to begin, but the defendant and her lawyer are casually having a tea party. Thanks to you two, I'm not nervous at all. By the way, Miss Sapphire, I want to ask a question I didn't get to ask yesterday. We only talked about you moving the director's body, but what happened after that? I went out and grabbed a wiping rag to wipe the blood stains on the floor randomly. Then I went home in the rain. She is literally crazy. You're telling me you just left him there. As soon as I entered my home, I immediately called the police, and my hair was still wet. So she was the one calling the police. I've never heard of it before. How much information you haven't told me yet? Some unimportant details that will happen to be very important. They sure? Okay, the trial is starting. I believe that with you two, winning is absolutely a piece of cake. A piece of cake. Sorry, I just need to... Up. Suddenly I understand why Sis often wants to punch people into the wall. I mean, you know, sometimes you have those urges. Let's go. Okay. Although I felt like I was in trouble when the investigation wrapped up yesterday, only as I stepped into the courtroom did I realize I truly boarded a ship bound for trouble. I mean, again, the investigation was so... I don't know what we are doing with those evidence. I just have no idea of what happened. Doo-doo-doom. It's like, are you really like a prosecutor, by the way? The trial for Zoey Sapphire, researcher intern from the Crimson Ultra-Realistic Robot Research Center, suspected of murdering Joseph Crimson, the center's director, is now in session. The defense is ready. I'm a bit nervous. Mr. Drake is not at the defense bench today. Mr. Drake is currently occupied, so I am handling the defense all by myself this time. Looks like everyone in the courtroom today, except me, is freshly new. Prosecutor Schubert is handling the trial today. Like you, he doesn't have too much experience. You are both freshly new. I forgot about that. He seems about my age, but why would a judge allow him to wear headphones in the courtroom? So Prosecutor Schubert, are you ready? Bro is aura farming.
陆检，你戴着耳机听不到吗？检方准备完毕了吗？
吵死了，我听着呢。
I don't know what to say. Average zoomer, by the way.
你怎么不说话了？那个要开庭喽。
There's a lot more typos, by the way.
所以呢？
He doesn't care.
我是说，现在要开庭了。
那又如何？
什么那又如何呀？现在可是要开庭了呀！
那么，请吧。
I don't know, maybe he won't be that obnoxious, but this is really the type of design that I find like a bit, I don't know, off-putting. Like it doesn't really fit the vibes of the game. I had like some issues with that in the later Ace Attorney as well, but
既然没事了，就请快一点。
I think it's like you're too nonchalant for like a courtroom, and this is like a trope I don't really enjoy that much.
对。
I prefer like the kind of forceful behavior for like for prosecutors. I think like I don't know, probably that's why like Dual Destiny was a bit weird for me. I just don't vibe with the lazy personalities.
首先，请检控方做出开庭
Okay.
陈述。
检方提起公诉，被告蓝妙诗涉嫌杀害被害者朱平江。
That's all.
就这？
Literally, that's all.
这个检察官是怎么搞的？冬雪姐姐，这个检察官哥哥好奇怪啊。确实。
I mean, he will pop off at some point,
算
but
了，不管他。
那么，如果开庭陈述已经结束，就请检控方传唤第一
oh,
位
sorry,
证
I
人出庭
skipped
吧。
too fast.
那个。
Very interesting sprite here.
冬雪姐姐，审判长爷爷好像向咱们投来了求助的目光。
辩护方那个没有意见。
太好了，快传唤！
Awkward. It's also like it's cringe. Like the whole sequence here is cringe, and I have like a physical aversion to cringe. It makes me like want to crawl like somewhere, you know, where I can hide because it's genuinely physically painful. Unbelievable. Okay, so is Tessa the first witness or not? Yes, she is. Hi everyone, I am your first witness, Tessa Sanford. The famous detective Sanford. Oh my, you do know me. Of course, your remarkable achievements are well known in the judicial circle. Is she that famous? Well, if so, things will be easier. As you know, as an Interpol agent, I'm very busy, so let's get this done ASAP. Well, we'll try, but it depends on the progress of the trial. Don't worry, the situation in this case is clear. It won't take much time to explain. Is that so? Well, of course, I can guarantee that explaining the case will take less time than resolving a gang fight on the way. Resolving a gang fight? Did she take down everyone involved in that gang fight? Okay, even though I don't understand what it means, I will write it down. Name, occupation. I think you're a bit late, but... Wait, what? I don't know. This guy actually speaks sometimes. Witness your name and occupation. Well, okay, sweetie, my name is Tessa Sanford. I am the Deputy Director of the local Criminal Investigation Bureau and a member of the branch of Interpol in our country. Begin your testimony. No problem. Fantastic, it seems like the entire cause is led away by this weird prosecutor. Okay, so now we have we'll have some idea with the case. According to the autopsy report, the crime occurred between 4 and 6 p.m. on November the 8th. That we know is true, there's nothing to do here. The person who called the police is the defendant, Zoey Sapphire. Joseph Crimson's cause of death is excessive bleeding with a fatal injury at the back of his head. I mean... Sure. Back of his head, but also on just the back, right? Was the autopsy report. The victim's head and back suffered severe impact from a large flat object. Although the exact cause of the injury still waits for more details, the forensic expert has now a preliminary result. The force causing the injury is comparable to that of falling from a 15 meters height, indicating that it can't be of human origin. Oh, she means that no human has the force to cause this type of injury on the corpse, on the body. I mean... Yeah, that's a problem. The building has 3 floors with a total height of 10 meters. Because my theory back then was that the fall, if it is not a fall, then the victim has been crushed by something. You have been crushed, maybe you were lying on your belly and you have been crushed by a heavy object or even a machine, and that's what causing the injury both on the back and the head. But we know that it can't be true, it can't be a fall because of that. The problem that I have with this, well, it's not necessarily a problem, but we don't have any items or elements that fit the exact type of injury. I was thinking of a compressor, it can be a hydraulic press, it can be a lot of different things. I just don't know. Could you have been outside and something was falling from, but you need to throw, it can't be real. Okay. The victim fell from a height of 15 meters and died. That's all. Detective Sanford is reliable. I told you explaining cases and punishing perpetrators are the same for me, easy peasy. So the director fell to his death. I thought the cause of his death would be more sci-fi, as a scientist. Well, this is the first time I've heard someone use sci-fi to describe death. Maybe someone remotely controlled a robot to commit the crime. How is this game not related to Dual Destinies? Because it's literally what happened in Dual Destinies. Your Honor, you really haven't lost your childlike imagination. Well, I wasn't questioning the police judgment. Let me explain to you the so-called 3 laws of robotics. Every robot must obey the 3 laws. The first one states a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. A robot must obey the orders of a human being is the second law. These robots in the research center were designed to follow these laws at the beginning. Even the creator, Joseph Crimson himself, couldn't command robots to harm humans. Do you understand now? Although I didn't fully understand, it seems very amazing. So, I'm heading back now. I still have 2 gang leaders' confession to record. She just left.
等等，
Well, Detective Sanford, didn't you just say that you would explain the case in less time than resolving a gang fight? Yeah, I did over time. Not really, I mean... The case is still not clear, so you can't leave now. Well, are you sure that I didn't explain it clearly enough, rather than you having difficulties with understanding? Well, the defense requests to question the witness. Detective Sanford, what do you think? I mean, this is my right as like a defense lawyer. It won't change anything anyway. Let me see how capable Stella's little sister is. The defense questioning request is permitted. Okay, so we already know what to press. I guess we can press on... I mean, the 2 things are basically like the same element, but probably should be... It should be good enough.
反对，
Okay, so you want me to press the other thing. You want me to press the other thing.
反对，
The victim fell from a height of 15 meters and died. Detective Sanford, is it your final conclusion? What, isn't it the most reasonable conclusion? Sorry, Detective Sanford, but that is impossible. And why so? Well, for the current buildings, the average height is about 3 meters. So falling from 15 meters height means falling from a height of 5 floors. Well, that's right. Now please look at the house plan of the Crimson Research Center. From it we can clearly see that the building only has 3 floors, and the caption clearly states that the building height is 10 meters. Huh. What? Oh, I like how her hair is flowing in the back. Defense, please explain that. We have investigated the center and there's no tall structure on the rooftop. Therefore, there is no 15-meter height difference in the center. Huh. So Detective Sanford, please explain it. Where does the 5 extra meters come from in your analysis? Well, where indeed does it come from? If so, sweetie, what do you think is the actual situation back then? Yes, since you think my argument doesn't make sense, you must have a more reasonable one, right? Well, that's basically what we were saying, right? I did point out the contradiction, but haven't thought about it at all. The defense seems to be quite confident. Please share your opinion. A reasonable argument. Detective Sanford, in your testimony just now, the forensic judgment is the force is comparable to that of falling from a height of 15 meters, right? Yes. So as long as the force is comparable to that, it could cause such an injury. So the victim might not necessarily have died from falling from a height, right? Well, theoretically, yes. But in a situation where human strength cannot cause such an injury and robots are not allowed to harm humans, other than falling, I really cannot think of any other possibilities. Well, there are. Do you have anything in mind? No. Maybe it will turn right. Now is a good time to bluff. It seems you have an answer now. I think that the cause of the director's injury might be a victim was struck by a falling object from a height, yes. To cause the victim's injury, the force needed is comparable to a falling from a height of 15 meters, which leads us to believe that the victim fell from a high place. But we miss one thing. What if it was not the victim that fell from a height? If someone else falls, why would the director... It's not what I mean. What I want to say is that what if the victim's injury wasn't caused by falling from a height, but by a falling object from a height? Although human force isn't enough to cause such a severe injury, gravity could. For example, a flat and heavy object fell from a height, hitting the director who was lying on the ground. What? Huh? Because this idea sounds so foolish, I haven't actually thought about it at all. Why would it be that foolish though? If a very heavy object fell from a height and hit the victim on the back of the head, could it really cause such an injury? Well, although it's hard to imagine, the police couldn't rule out this possibility. Also, the defense has really put forward an incredible argument. Well, Silas will come here, right? Well, if the murder weapon is a falling object from a height, we should re-examine the case from a new perspective. It might be a heavy object pushed down from the 3rd floor, or even a heavier and harder object from the 2nd floor. Therefore, the prosecutor has no reason to suspect my client only. Everyone in the center had the opportunity to commit a crime. During the investigation, the police did not find any heavy and hard object that could be lifted and dropped. That is kind of my problem. Like, we don't even have like the things. We know that like in the building we have like those kind of vault windows, and maybe you can push someone or something through here. But we haven't found anything that would fit in terms of weight to be able to kill, I think, the victim, which is slightly like problematic. I don't know. Also, if there were any scratches or impact marks, it should attract attention. But the police didn't specifically investigate for this possibility, right? Maybe something was overlooked. Well, what you say does make some sense. Well done, it seems like you've completely gained the upper hand. Now almost everyone in the courtroom is with me. Let's take this opportunity and continue. In addition, the defense believes that there's another possibility that cannot be ignored. Yes, let's step back for a moment. If the director did fall from a height of 15 meters, my rationale is that she wants to tell that like you need to bring the corpse back from the entrance door of the show, which would be problematic. Then the center couldn't be the real crime scene because of there. Yeah, okay, well, that's the same argument. Couldn't be the real crime scene because there is no place with like a 15-meter height in the center. Take a look. When the director's body was found, it was placed on a handcart, so it's possible that the victim was killed elsewhere and then transferred to the center. With this handcart, it's easy to move him anywhere. Oh, she's arguing that like even if he might have been killed like elsewhere from a fall, and because of that, like our client is not like the only like person that could commit the crime, I guess. My client just happened to discover the body and then she was considered a suspect. Sorry, but the real killer had already disappeared untrackably long before that. It was a very strange like adverb here. Untrackably, how would you even pronounce that? Is that possible? I mean, it's a compelling argument, to be fair. Like, we are not putting any like hypothesis like in the forefront, but at the very least we are like deflecting suspicion from our client, which is also good enough. Well, if the center isn't the crime scene, then the defendant even has an alibi. Exactly. Bro, what are you doing? You should like start talking at some point. It is still too early to claim victory, but surviving today seems like a sure thing. Surprisingly, shortly after the trial began, the case situation is completely different. The research center may not be the actual crime scene, and the cause of the victim's death is uncertain. This is indeed a challenging case. It seems we have to reopen
吵
it.
死了！
Okay, he is popping off. Oh, I forgot that Silas is still here. Never mind. If the Adagio doesn't end soon, even Haydn's Symphony number 94 in G major would put people to sleep. So he is classical music coded. I thought that Schubert was just, why not? But no, okay, it will be the entire running theme of the character. In that case, time to get down to business. Regarding the defense attorney's argument and conclusion just now, the prosecution has only one stance. All overruled. All cooked. First, the argument that the victim may have died from the impact of a falling object, not from a fall, overruled. To cause injury is equivalent to a person falling from the 15 meters, the impacting object must have an equivalent impulse to cause such injuries. Yes, but that's why my point was that it was not like an object falling, but mostly like a press. The impulse from a falling object can be approximated by the mass of the falling object and the falling height. Yes, to give an object falling from below 15 meters the same impulse as the victim falling from 50 meters, the object has to be heavier than the victim. However, based on the prosecution knowledge of the internal situation at the research center, all large tools and instruments in the center are fixed to the ground or walls and cannot be moved. All movable tools, without exceptions, are lighter than 1 person. Therefore, it is impossible for the victim to die from the impact of a high falling object. Second, the argument that the crime scene may not be at the center overruled. It seems that the defense attorney has not conducted the necessary pre-trial investigation. Due to the need for large tools and instruments, the height of every floor is approximately 3.3 meters. As there is an ongoing construction, a deep foundation pit has recently been dug behind the building. The height of the third floor window is around 8 meters, and the depth of the pit is slightly more than 6 meters. Absolutely cooked. Thus, the drop from the third floor to the bottom of the pit is about 15 meters. Wait. Is like the pit here? Because we know that there's a window here, but... My main problem with like the falling theory is not that it's impossible, it's mostly that you need to like... If we trust our client, the body was discovered here. So the body would fall from the third floor. You would actually have a way... The argument doesn't make any sense. Because like, the body would fall into the pit, the 6 meter deep pit. You would be able like to fish the body in some way, put it on the handcart, come back to the entrance, go to the elevator, go to the second floor and put it in the biochemical laboratory, and nobody saw you the entire time? It seems like it's too much. Therefore, the research center fully meets the conditions to be the crime scene. Third, the argument that the victim was moved from elsewhere to the center overruled. The center is located in a relatively remote suburb. According to the investigation, there is no drop greater than 10 meters within a radius of 10 kilometers, whether in buildings or in the local topography. So if the crime scene is in the center, it must be somewhere more than 10 kilometers away from where the body was found. In that case, moving the body without leaving a trace would be significantly more challenging. No one would push a handcart for 10 kilometers after committing a crime. That's absurd. Unless the defense can present solid evidence, it's better not to make baseless statements like this. Even so, other people in the center could also overruled. As mentioned earlier, the drop from the third floor window to the bottom of the pit is exactly 15 meters. The victim must have been pushed from the third floor to the building. At the time of the incident, no one besides the defendant could have pushed the victim into the deep pit. Okay, why? To verify these points, the prosecution now applies to submit new evidence. Okay, finally. A pit located directly below the window of the stock room. Oh yeah. With disordered luminol reactions inside. Oh, this is not good. So obviously, if you don't know, luminol is what is used to detect blood stains, even if they have been washed away. So this is not very good. And this is just below. I mean, my argument stands still. Like, you would need to go down and fish the corpse from there. Like, there's also like a big question here. It's like, why do we have traces of blood in here if he was like on the handcart? I don't know. This is a report about the construction pit detailing the information obtained after investigation. We detected a luminol reaction at the bottom of the pit. Given the heavy rain during the incident, the prosecution views it as evidence that the victim was once in the pit. In addition, the pit is below the window of the third floor stockroom. Apart from the stockroom window, there is no other spot on the third floor where the victim could have fallen into the pit. Okay, but what about like on the roof, by the way? Only the defendant's fingerprints were discovered on the stockroom's door and window without signs of tampering or concealment. In conclusion, the one created the tragedy that marked the end of the victim's life could only be the defendant, Zoey Sapphire. We got cooked. Although I don't know what just happened, it seems undoubtful that the defendant is likely the killer, right? Yes, please your Malakayam. Okay, to announce the verdict. This is a gavel. Doesn't matter, just use it to declare the verdict.
反对。
The one to pronounce the verdict should be the judge, not you. Well, this trial cannot end now. So what exactly do you want to object to? Spoke like a machine gun. How do I know what to object to? The prosecutor's conclusion is too hasty. I find it quite reasonable. Which part do you think seems hasty? For example, the evidence proving that the defendant pushed the victim from the stockroom window is all indirect, right? Good argument. Think carefully, there's indeed nothing to verify about the exact moment of incident. Yeah, we don't have any concrete evidence to ascertain the exact moment of the incident, is what she means. Just because the defendant had the chance to commit a crime doesn't mean the defendant definitely did it. This case has no eyewitness and the victim left no messages. Nothing is more hasty than making a verdict based solely on indirect evidence. Prosecutor Schubert, I'm listening. Now he's back to the heedless state at the beginning of the trial. No need for me to explain it. Detective Sanford. Oh, my turn again. Silas is indeed a naughty child. Do you really think the police would casually arrest someone for prosecution? As you just said, the case has no eyewitness and the victim left no messages, right? What a pity. Well, this case not only has eyewitness, but also the most crucial information left by the victim. What? Let me tell you the real reasons the police arrested the defendant. Firstly, the defendant was frequently scolded by the victim, providing a strong motive for murder. Nothing to object here. And I found a voodoo doll in the stockroom. There are needles stuck in it to curse the victim. Yeah, okay. The victim left conclusive evidence proving that the defendant is the murderer. Considering the scene as well, this messy lady is the only one that could have committed the murder. Please deliver the verdict. Okay. We need to press on the conclusive evidence because we don't have them. Are you serious? The defendant made a voodoo doll to curse the victim. Yes, this is this one. I wouldn't have shown it to you if the defense hadn't insisted. Well, how ominous it looks. Miss Sapphire, now you should understand what goes round comes round. I never expected such malicious thoughts would come from such a laid-back lady. Well, actually, she made the doll only to curse the director with a cold. Who would believe that? Not even I would. The police seem to investigate thoroughly before making the arrest. Defense, it's your turn to question. Although my answer is no, we would better follow the procedure. I'll just stay with you a little longer, even though it won't make any difference. Even so, the trial cannot end unclearly. Okay, so we need to press on the evidence, because she did not say what it was.
等等，
The victim left conclusive evidence. Why am I not informed of it? Why should you? There's a lot more you don't know, sweetie. The victim left a direct message telling us that Zoey Sapphire is undoubtedly the murderer. A dying message. Dying message. Of course we need to see what it is. Claims to have evidence but avoids mentioning it directly in her testimony. It must be a trap. But even if I don't ask, she won't keep the evidence forever. So should I walk into the lion's den? You said the victims left conclusive evidence identifying the murderer. What is exactly this evidence? Could you be more specific? You're the one in the courtroom who knows the case best. Alright, I'm running out of time. I'll explain it to you clearly this time. Before the victim died, she wrote down the killer's name on the ground clearly. What? What? Do we have... Oh, that? But didn't he die instantly? No, excessive bleeding. Is that the name of the... Oh, and that's why, like... No, but it has been wiped anyway. Surely it's not like the name, it's other purpose. I think, like... Everybody is just misguided in here. I mean, we can probably just, like, attack this by saying that, at the very least... We don't see, like, the killer's name. But I guess, like, they will say that, no, it's not here, it is actually on... Oh, no, it doesn't make any sense. It was raining, so what are they talking about?
犯罪！
Did you just say that the victim wrote down the name of the killer? That's right. Well, that's strange. Please look at the photo of the biochemical laboratory. Beside a messy pool of blood, there is nothing on the ground. Detective Sanford, are the letters beyond the area of the photo? This is a crucial location of the case, so we examine every corner carefully during the investigation. Besides, when the victim appeared in the biochemical laboratory, he was already severely injured. How could he be able to find a hidden place? What's the message? Objection. If you beat someone to severe... If you beat someone, I mean, you know, to a severe degree and find him writing your name on the ground, what would you do? Answer my question. Wipe it off? Exactly. After pushing the victim out of the window, the defendants used the handcart to transport him to the biochemical laboratory. The dying victim didn't have the strength to find a hidden place and could only leave the information at the scene. Unfortunately, the killer discovered the information and promptly wiped it clean. I mean, this is really not like a name. This is... If it was wiped clean, how did you know the writing? I seem to have found a contradiction, haven't I? Luminol. Really? With luminol, really? It seems you still remember some basic knowledge of crime investigation. It can't be right. Like, I think like the game is slightly weird. Like, luminol cannot show. I mean, if it has been wiped, you will just find like traces of wiped blood. Also reveals the original appearance of bloodstains. Okay, but like, it's clearly just a pool of blood, right? Or am I crazy? I have a really bad feeling. Please take a look here. This is the original appearance of discovery site of the body. The police sprayed luminol at the scene and took a new photo under UV light. It can't be real. It can't be real. Oh, you mean that like he... But why do we have like those... They're glowing. Why? What is this pool of blood and where is it coming from? It doesn't make any sense. Like, for me, it is overlaid on top of it, so the name has to be written. Everything has been wiped twice, I think. It's clear with this photo, the victim wrote down the name of the defendant in lead. How is that possible? That's my question. It doesn't make any sense. The police have already confirmed that the blood writing Zoey was indeed the victim's. Okay. Oh, the handwriting has been verified to belong to the victim. Okay, this is cooked. I don't know. I just don't know. My client is crazy.
犯罪！
It's generally difficult to determine the handwriting left by fingers, isn't it? How can you be so sure that it's Joseph Crimson's handwriting? A reference. It's not easy to analyze the handwriting left by fingers, but we were lucky to find a reference. There's a whiteboard for taking notes in the director's office. There happen to be some words on it written by the director's finger with ink. Through comparison, the handwriting on the whiteboard and the blood writing at the crime scene are indeed from the same person. This has been planted there, right? Someone did write both on the crime scene with blood and both in the director's room. Because we don't know that it was the directors that wrote the words on the whiteboard. Are they sure? No wonder Zoey messed up the bloodstain. She was trying to erase her own name. This is cooked. I spent enough time with you, I got to go. You don't have anything else to say? No? Well, my job is finally done. I don't know. Let me give you one last reminder. You're involved in this case not just to earn some commission, are you? No. You cannot even handle the situation, let alone uncover deeper secrets behind the case. Don't you realize you overestimated yourself? Take care of yourself. She is a bit crazy. She really comes and goes like the wind. I mean, there are a lot of like issues here. But now I cannot even protect my client. It is so embarrassing. If I continue to be done, even Annie would look down on me, let alone Chief. The truth of this case has been revealed. It is time to deliver the verdict. Shall we do something now? Before this court declares the defendant Zoey Sapphire Do you have anything else to say? Our side believes that the reasons for convicting the defendant are still not sufficient. In my view, it is already more than sufficient. Maybe we missed some details. I don't think so. Detective Sanford has done a very thorough job. I believe she wouldn't overlook anything. Apart from the defendant not confessing her guilt, the evidence presented is more than enough for a verdict. Your Honor, you mentioned that the defendant has not confessed her guilt, right? Yes, why? Well, since you believe the evidence is sufficient, why don't we ask her to come forward and confess her guilt? Then we can save the trouble of further questioning after the verdict is delivered. What do you think? What do you mean, Miss Frey? Are you suggesting that your own client confess her guilt in court? Yeah, okay, this is like a crazy gamble, but... You want me to testify? No problem at all. I was overthinking it. Prosecutor Schubert, there's no need to question the defendant. She wouldn't make any statements against herself. How do you know that? You haven't listened yet. Can you play a C major on the black keys? Counting on the defendant's testimony to save the case is a waste of time. He has suddenly become quite talkative because he knows that we will find something that is not going in his direction. Could it be that Zoey Sapphire possesses information that he doesn't want to reveal? Your Honor, the defense insists that the defendant has the right to speak in court. Whether she tells the truth or not should be judged by you, Your Honor, not either of us. Well, if the defense insists, the court has no reason to prevent the defendant from speaking. The prosecutor seems quite unhappy. If we can make a breakthrough in Miss Sapphire's testimony, he will be even unhappier. Defendant, please step forward to the witness stand. Nice to meet you. Please be a bit more serious. What's on your head? This is a clothespin. And why is it on your head? Well, I lost my hairpin, so I just grabbed it to clip my hair. C major is a construct and the piano can be retuned +2. Although I know you're very chaotic, but this is slightly a bit too much, probably. Maybe she lost her hair clip on the crime scene or something like that. Too lazy to even look for a hairpin. Don't generalize all young people, okay? I don't have a clothespin on my head. Neither do I. Well, let's pick a name and occupation. Well, my name is Zoey Sapphire, female. As for my occupation, I am an intern researcher at the Crimson Ultra Realistic Robot Research Center. I'm 27, unmarried, I love fish and pork, and I'm easygoing. My zodiac sign is Aquarius, blood type O, and as you can see, my measurement from top to... She is literally crazy. You better stop here. Mr. Prosecutor became quite scary just now. Maybe this unreliable Miss Sapphire is his nemesis. Oh, it really is similar to Edgeworth and Old Bag, right? No more unnecessary noise, just honestly testify about your actions on that day. Hi, memory, have fun, thank you. I hope that you are doing alright. I'll testify, but why are you being so fierce? Okay. I never intended to kill the director, I just made a voodoo doll to curse him with a corn, so that is true. That afternoon I left the stockroom for some affairs. When I returned I found the director lying still at the stockroom entrance. It scared me to death. By the way, stockroom entrance, does it mean inside or outside the room? I thought he was dead. I didn't want to get into trouble, so I moved him somewhere else. And also if he was dead there. If he was dead there... Wait, I think I have an idea. think I have an idea, maybe. Because she says that, like, the body has been found at the stockroom entrance. But the prosecution would have probably told us if some, like, blood has been found in the stockroom, right? But it doesn't seem to be the case. My gay Luna headcanon and gay shipping is not known to the Chinese Trials of Innocence group chat. Not sure how I should feel about that. You should embrace it. I root for that. Okay, so my idea here is pretty simple. Someone in English Discord shared with them with permission. I see. So what if the director was not dead at first? What if the director was not dead? Zoey is bringing him to the biochemical lab. For some reason he is... Oh no, but he wrote that with his blood. Part of me wanted to say, like, he was not dead, and then it's only after she left, because, like, she wiped the blood and then she left to do other things. What if he was not dead? But that's kind of like what she's saying. Later the director suddenly revived and he wrote my name, so he was not dead. She's leaving the building and someone then is killing him by, like, throwing him from the window. And then taking the corpse back to the biochemical lab. So he only fell after Zoey left. That would be, like, my theory right now. Interesting. Okay, we need to have more information about the stockroom. When she found the body, what was the situation of the body? Was there, like, any blood or not? Revived? My head is aching. How much have you hidden from me? So the defendant witnessed the dying victim writing her name. I was really scared at that moment. If you're innocent as you say, why would the victim write your name when he revived? I have no idea. If only I could drag the director out of the morgue and ask him directly. Nonsense. I better stop her nonsense right away. While the defense requests to question the defendant's testimony immediately. What do you think, Prosecutor Schubert? It doesn't matter, as you wish. Okay. He's allowed to question the defendant. We need to press on the discovery of the body right now. No, okay. You mean when you left the stockroom, Director Crimson wasn't there, but when you came back, he appeared. Yes, that's exactly what happened. The judge sighed. It seems he completely doesn't believe what Miss Sapphire is saying. Although I knew that yesterday, I didn't ask for enough details back then. I can't just let it go, better ask for more details. Okay, please provide more detailed information about your testimony. For example, what was the specific time you discovered the director? It doesn't really matter. I think the injuries is what is really critical for me right now. How were the director's injury when you found him? It was gruesome. Blood was everywhere. What the heck? Blood was everywhere? So he was already dying? Was his blood still flowing at that time? Well, I didn't look that closely, but it should have been flowing. His blood hadn't completely coagulated. It means that only a short time had passed from the directors being injured to appearing at the stockroom entrance. This seems important, is not needed for now. I do agree, this is weird. When someone is terrified, they should run away themselves, not run away with a corpse. What clothes was the director wearing? Oh yeah, we want to ask that question because of that, right? He wanted to do an experiment in the biochemical lab and he had to wear like a metal vest and helmet. Okay, so we are pressing on that point. What kind of clothes was the victim wearing at that time? Just the same as usual, the uniform of the center, the white lab coat. We talked about this question yesterday, right? He wasn't wearing a metal vest or helmet. In that case, his clothes at the time didn't seem to be any different from the photo. Yeah, it was that one, except for the parts stained red with blood. It was all clean and white. What does she mean? What do you mean there was blood everywhere, but like everything was clean at the same time? Did the director always wear it during work? Are there any spare... Oh, yeah. Does she mean like... Oh, except for the part stained with red with blood. Okay, I understand what she's saying. He threw all his clothes at me to wash. There is a spare one, but I haven't washed it yet. Even such personal task was assigned to an intern. The director was a bit too much. I think, according to Mr. Prosecutor's inference, isn't there something strange about the director's clothes? There is. Because it was raining during the entire time frame of the murder. So you shouldn't have like any blood on the coat. Very straightforward hint here. Yes, I would say that the game, or maybe like I misremember like the early Ace Attorney, I think that the game is really holding your hands in questioning.
反对！
Mr. Fire, thank you for your testimony. I have finally discovered a fatal contradiction in the prosecution's evidence. You just said that the director's clothes, apart from the parts stained with blood, were all clean and white, right? Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of the same, right? It's like, because it doesn't really matter. You could argue that like it should have been stained with like dirt or whatever. It's okay, both works. The director valued that clothes a lot. That's not the point. Well, what's the point you want to make? This evidence conflicts with the condition of the director's clothes.
就是他！
The contradiction with the victim's clothes lies in the weather report. The weather report? Yes, the weather report from the day of the incident clearly states that from 4 to 5:23, there was a thunderstorm in the area where the center is located and the rainfall was extremely heavy. The estimated time of death is between 4 and 6. In other words, there should have been a heavy downpour at the crime scene when the victim was killed. And that means that, well, according to the prosecution, the victim died from being pushed into a deep pit next to the center building. If that's the truth, how could the victim's clothes be so clean? And you shouldn't find blood anyway. Or at least not that amount. Right, falling into a pit in a downpour would not only soak the clothes, but also leave a lot of mud stains. Exactly, the prosecution's claim about the cause of death doesn't hold up at all. The prosecutor seems to be daydreaming again. Leave him alone. Now I need to press on with full force. My client, Zoey Sapphire, discovered the body with the victim's clothes the same as in the photo. This contradicts the prosecution's claim that the victim fell into a deep pit. The defense argues that the pit couldn't be the actual crime scene. Therefore, the claim that Zoey Sapphire is the only possible culprit falls apart. Prosecutor Schubert, do you have something else to say? Dealing with this guy for a long time will definitely give me a heart attack. While the defense claims has already been refuted by the prosecution earlier, your refutation has presented a decisive contradiction. Are you going to ignore it? Yes. What? Because it's not even worth discussing. Since that's the case, let me generally explain the flaws in your feeble contradictions. First, the defendant claims that it must be raining heavily when the crime happened overruled, because he is arguing that like the fall was afterwards, right after 5:23. According to the weather report, the heavy rain started exactly at 4 p.m. and the estimated time of death mentioned in the autopsy report is also from 5 to 6 p.m. The times overlap. Well, the time appear to overlap, but there is a very subtle overlap. Based on both reports, those events could have happened simultaneously at 4 p.m. And according to the weather report at 4 p.m., the rain had just started. It is a weird conclusion, but like, as long as the murderer moved the victim inside the building before the rain intensified, the body would not have had the chance to be fully exposed to the rain. With such a slight amount of dampness, it would dry within the time of a song, and then it would be difficult to detect any traces. Furthermore, the defense questioned the lack of stains on the victim's clothes. Overruled. As I mentioned, at 4 p.m. when the rain started, there was no standing water in the deep pit. If the victim had fallen into the pit at the time, his clothes would only have been in contact with dry soil. It's easy to remove such traces, so it doesn't prove anything. Well, even if it was dry soil, there should still be some traces, right? Overruled. The defense argument is based on completely believing the defendant's testimony. However, the defendant could deliberately avoid mentioning what are unfavorable to her on the crime scene. The prosecution does not agree to take the defendant's testimony as fact unconditionally. The defendant's testimony states that the victim's clothing was unchanged from usual, as seen in the crime scene photo. What if the defendant lied? The victim could have been wearing another jacket at the time of the incident. Afterwards, the defendant disposed of it and concealed the truth. Have you considered that? I didn't. It is only natural for the defendant, as the suspect, to lie for their own benefit. The court will consider her testimony as a reference, not facts. In conclusion, we can determine she is such a girl failure, by the way, Zoey. We can determine the defense clearly underestimates everyone in trial, otherwise she wouldn't raise the so-called doubts. I love Silas. He's my favorite prosecutor from Trials of Innocence. I think like he, that's what I said like a bit earlier. He felt quite like, to me, obnoxious by being very like laid back to a point where it was almost like frustrating. But when he's getting serious, I really like the very, very sharp way of conducting like investigation. It really reminds me of like Asogi in Great Ace Attorney. You feel like you're really in front of like a ruthless force, and that you cannot escape with like flimsy bullshit, let's say. And I think that was especially the case in the Great Ace Attorney, where, oh yeah, because like Asogi is, I mean, if you play the game, you know, he will not fall for all your tactics, and you need like to come up with facts and not just like baseless, I don't know, hypothesis. Overruled. You did underestimate everyone. He is cooking us, though. These arguments are clearly based on assumptions, but I can't find strong evidence to counter them. I do agree. he's very very sharp, but at the same time he doesn't have like anything to prove what he's saying, which is probably enough in like a trial with a jury, but I don't know. Unfortunately, the defense seems unable to reverse the situation. What should I do? No, I have really no way out. I've held on for so long. Is there really no way out? Since that's the case, let's proceed according to the previous procedure. Annie MVP. It was me. Mr. Bird, Mr. Prosecutor, I have a question to ask, may I? It's difficult to refuse such an adorable girl. Go ahead. Well, the autopsy report mentioned that the director's head had suffered a severe blow, so were there any traces of soil on his hair? What is Annie trying to do? I mean, not bad. No, if the victim fell before the rain intensified, even if his head was stained with dry soil, it could easily be brushed off. It doesn't change anything. That's not correct. I've observed the entrance of the center. The soil there is clearly clayed soil. And I mean, also you could argue that some of like the dirt would like stuck to the wound. This type of soil has a low sand content and good water retention property. The deeper you dig, the moister it becomes. Is that so? That the information provided by Prosecutor Schubert earlier showed that the pit was 6 meters deep. When my villagers plant lemon sapling, they only dig pits that are half a meter deep, and the soil there is already very moist. The surface of that pit was already covered with a waterproof cloth, so the soil moisture could be preserved. If the director fell into such a deep pit, even if he was wearing another clothes and appeared clean, his hair would definitely have gotten wet clay soil, which is difficult to remove. She is kind of crazy. If a judge in Denmark said it's difficult to say no to such an adorable girl, they would be cancelled so fast. I mean, we are in like, you know, Ace Attorney territory or Ace Attorney adjacent territory, so like you need to have like the cute girl that is asking like, you know, pointed question, and the judge is just like, oh yeah, this is really good. I think that's the case for Ace Attorney with like a Pearl. That's the case of Great Ace Attorney with like Sato, and that's even the case like in Investigation, because I think Kay Faraday was like 17 at the moment of the game. Mr. Prosecutor, why didn't the police officers find any traces on his head? This question cannot be overruled. Very interesting. Annie, how did you know that? Well, everyone who works in the fields knows about it. So did I help this time? Well, of course, you're my savior. I love you so much, Annie. That's great then. The assistant's doubts is quite reasonable. The court cannot afford to overlook this detail. Bailiff, contact the police at the crime scene immediately and obtain a sample of the soil from the deep pit. We will adjourn for 15 minutes for the sample. Thanks to Annie, otherwise I wouldn't have made it to the end. Oh, and I still have a long way to go before I can stand on my own. Okay, but I don't really know where we are going with that. During this time, both the prosecutions and the defense should reorganize their information and strategy. We will now adjourn. Okay. Miss Lawyer, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? Shut up. What's gotten into you? Are you possessed by that prosecutor? You're driving me crazy. If it weren't for Annie, we would have been doomed by now. Is that so? Are you desperate to be convicted? Why would you act so abnormally? She is such a girl failure. What else have you done? I already told you everything I know, I guess. I'm going to go crazy. If I knew the victim wrote your name in blood in his last breath, I would never have taken this case. But we got a breath now, haven't we? Luna Xie, calm down. I think our situation isn't as tough as before. Well, yes, thank you, Annie. Without you, we would have lost. Is the soil matter you mentioned for real? I'm a good girl and I never lie. Very good, Annie. Well, I trust your judgment. However, that alone will only buy us some time. Debunking Prosecutor Schubert's hypothesis won't make us win. We have to present a new argument. I mean, we have like several workable theories, I think, but... Mr. Fire, besides that deep pit, is there really no other places in the center that can create a 15-meter drop? Okay, but that is kind of like of... Okay, so let's think a little bit. My theory of like him falling afterwards, after Zoey left, doesn't work anymore. Because we would still have to find those traces of like dirt. So the only possibility that I have is like a hydraulic press or something like that. I do still think that it was not caused by a fall. Let me take a look at... I mean, I don't know. Is there something with the elevator? Can you like create a fall in the elevator? But no blood has been found there. I mean... If the elevator would like drop from the first... I mean, it would be completely broken. It doesn't make any sense. You could say, I don't know. I just don't know. There's also something that I'm thinking about, like, that I was thinking about like for quite a while now, but it seems a bit crazy. Oh wait, it could work. No wait, I have an idea. But it seems also quite unlikely. You see that like on every floor, you have this corridor here that is basically uninterrupted. If all the doors are open, you could like walk from one end to the other in a straight line without any turn. What if we take the idea, like, again, this is kind of like similar to like the hydraulic press, but like he would be like on some sort of like contraption that would accelerate in a straight line and he would be crushed at the end. I mean, we know that there are like windows here and we haven't found any blood, so I don't know. But if like the elevator doors are like open, you could like cross here and like crash with like the, you know, accumulated speed from like the run to one end to the other. And that would, I think, that would be similar like to a car accident, right? And that would like simulate probably the wounds of like a 15 meters drop. Because I do believe like that this particular layout is a bit like suspicious. We know that the elevator is here so that you don't have to turn the handcart inside the elevator to go in one way or the other. But it also gives the perfect opportunity to have a straight line. So those would be my two theories. Either like a press or a sort of like crushing contraption that would accelerate in the corridor. Something like that. Actually, I have never heard of that big pit before. The place is usually covered with a plastic sheet. Who would bother to lift it and take a look? Interesting. Yet you still bothered to move the body. But I can assure that on the day of the incident, I opened the window only to get some fresh air. If the director fell from the stock room, how could I know nothing? That dead-eyed prosecutor is really unreliable. How dare you say that someone else is? Anyway, we still cannot find any other possibilities for the director's death. The initiative is still in the prosecution's hand. By the way, charge and fix itself. Yeah, I don't know. A cleaning robot named Moonlit Pyramid disappeared during the time of the director's death. I don't know what it looks like, so this is an imaginary picture. Yeah, there's something here. True that there were also those like wires. I don't know. What actions might Mr. Prosecutor take? Who knows? He's annoying. I've never heard of him before. You've got it through in such difficult situations, so I believe you can make it in the following trial. Let's have a cup of tea. Love you, Annie. She is too cute and too sweet for her own good. A prosecutor who alternates between daydreaming and controlling the situation like a machine gun. I've never heard of him before, but one thing's for sure, the next half of the trial won't be easy. I received warnings from Detective Sanford and help from Annie. Such lucky things won't keep happening. From now on, I'm the last one to rely on. The recess is over. Please take your positions immediately. Okay. Let's wait for new hints. Now the trial of Miss Zoey Sapphires continue. Prosecutor Schubert, how is the investigation of the soil? As the defense stated, the soil in the deep pit is soft and moist. Great, at least we can breathe a sign of relief on this matter. While the defense maintains our previous opinion, the deep pit is not the actual crime scene. The prosecution's accusation against the defendant is unfounded. Is that so? The spot of the death can be determined in further investigation, but the defendant's suspicions go far beyond what has been revealed so far. What do you mean? Since you insist on that fallacious argument, I will use an adapted version of Dvorak going home to send you back to the starting point. He's a bit crazy. An eyewitness. Oh, there is an eyewitness. He was talking about that before. In yesterday's investigation, Deputy Director Goldstein mentioned that he hoped that we would not make things difficult for today's witness of the center. Could it be the person who is about to testify? Prosecutor Schubert, there's an eyewitness in this case. Why have I never heard of it? Well, the identity of this witness is special, so it was not registered. If it weren't for someone persistently nagging, the trial wouldn't have been delayed until now. Why blame me for that? Well, you should have known that the court cannot acknowledge witnesses who haven't been certified by the police. This witness is a participant in a classified project at the center. Classified? If not for the case, her identity should never have been revealed. So mysterious. Although she wasn't registered, Detective Stanford signed her testimony permit before leaving. Is that enough? Well, since it's personally permitted by the Deputy Director of the Criminal Investigation Bureau, I have no objections. Bring in the witness now. So she came after all. Interesting. She also has the energy of like, how is she called in Ace Attorney? Trials and Tribulation. You know, the ex of like, right, Dahlia.
你好，这个姐姐就是那个机密项目的参与者，和红叶想象的有点不一样呢。
我也有同感。
证人小姐好。
那个，
She has the same energy.
大哥哥说，叫小女子上来是要作证吗？
I know this voice also, but I can't put like her name on it. Nice soundtrack, by the way.
这庭上的事都由我说了算， 没有人能轻易
Literally
让
the same jokes as in Trials and Tribulations, by the way. The judge becomes a grandpa again.
好的，虽然小女子不敢保证自己能说明白，
Very
不过
cute pen
我会尽力
with
的。
like the rabbit ears.
证人，
Okay,
姓
your
名
name
和
and
职业
occupation.
这个小女子名叫白艺玲，
Bai Yiling. Remily White.
职业嘛，大概是平江超仿真机器人研究所里的研究员吧。
So wait, yeah, this is her room, like in. Okay, this is her room here.
大概
不，那个，我的意思是说，我就是。
I mean, I am a researcher. I see the vibes. I think she like contrasts very nicely with Zoe Sapphire. Oh, but there's like a big also age difference.
哦，这种没有任何争议的事，希望你能说得肯定一些。
Maybe she's just too nervous. I need to help her
郑兰小
relax.
姐，如果你很紧张的话，可以用双手。
吵死了，浪费时间没有意义，赶快开始证言吧。
好的。
好的. It's all rude to interrupt a girl's
请
conversation.
你把那天对检方说过的话，向法庭重新描述一遍。
Okay.
是指兰姐姐昨天的行动吗？小女子明白了。
Okay, she is cute. She is indeed cute. I love the, palette of pinks. Like cherry blossom pink, and then you have like some accent with like the blues and the peach flower blossom. Very nice. That afternoon, I met Zoe when I went out for a walk to relax. Okay. What time? I saw her wiping something at the entrance of the biochemical laboratory. At the entrance? Then Zoe came out of the laboratory and she saw... Wait, so inside, right? They show inside. Because she came out. Something at the entrance, and then she came out of the laboratory and saw me. She seemed particularly flustered. She had a piece of rag in her hand that was stained red by blood, I think. What did we find in the stock room? I see. Zoe even said to me, "You didn't see anything, forget about it." So I thought maybe she had broken something again and she was afraid of being scolded by the director. Now it seems like Zoe is the murderer, right? You truly witnessed something extraordinary. I mean, like, we're kind of cooked. Maybe, yes. You don't need to doubt yourself. This is facts. Is that so? In addition, the police found a large piece of rag in the stockroom. The rag still had the bloodstains of the victim, Joseph Crimson. Okay, so this is the victim's blood. If it's not enough that the victim wrote down the killer's name, being caught red-handed would be beyond argument, right? I don't know how we are coming back from this. Please give the verdict. I'm unable to continue with this case. The truth is beyond doubt. Please deliver your judgment. Considering the current testimony and evidence, I have to say the guilty verdict against the defendant is well-founded. This is the first time I've seen this witness, so just to be sure, please allow me to question her. Well, if you insist... Okay, we need to press on the first sentence, like for a timeline of the crime. What do you mean that afternoon? Where did you go? I went to the biochemical laboratory. For relaxing. No, I was just passing by. But this is a vacant room, right? In front of the... Huh. I just wanted to walk around with no specific place in mind. I mean, oh, alright. I was asking normal questions, wasn't I? Why was she being so uncertain with her answers? So I won't have like any more hints on that. Wiping something at the entrance of the biochemical laboratory. And she came out, flustered, red rag, stained red by blood.
等等，
When you saw the defendant, had she just come out of the laboratory? Yes. So you have been looking inside the laboratory this whole time. Yes, but she did not see the corpse? Was there anything unusual in the laboratory? Eh?
反对。
Prosecutor Schubert, what are you objecting to? I don't know. I just find the lawyer's action boring. Who is doing that in Ace Attorney? I can't remember. I think it's Edgeworth. At some point, like, there's like this joke of like, why you're objecting is it's like, there's nothing objectable here, but like, I just want to object. Prosecutor Schubert, your objection is unsustained. Whatever. It really drives me crazy. Since the objection is unsustained, can we include the statement in the testimony? Okay. So that doesn't work. This is cooked. Well, yeah, there was like the corpse. I just don't understand. Okay, so let's think. There is no corpse. So she said like that he was revived, that Joseph Crimson was revived. So maybe he like stood up? I don't know.
反对，
I don't know what your motive is, but lying in court is unacceptable. She's probably not lying, right? Miss Witness, please look at this photo. What is this? If you witnessed Miss Sapphire wiping away the blood stains, then the body of the director should have been beside her. Yes, indeed. With such a large hand cart carrying the severely injured director, yet you claimed in your testimony that there was nothing in the biochemical laboratory. Eh?
反对。
No need to discuss such trivial matters. What do you mean trivial matters? There might have been an obstruction between the witness line of sight and the body.
反对，
The witness description of the defendant wiping the floor was very detailed. If there was such an obstruction, how could she have seen it clearly? Please explain why you didn't see the handcart and the body that you were supposed to see. Is she lying? I don't know, I don't remember. Because another classic thing that could happen is like misdirection, and part of the actions did not occur in the biochemical lab, but it might be true. Maybe like it didn't happen in the biochemical lab, and maybe it happened like in the electromagnetic laboratory. Maybe, no? That's why you wouldn't find the body here, and the body would already be... But that doesn't make any sense.
反对。
Please don't mislead my witness by pressing her. Your tone during the questioning was quite intimidating. The witness couldn't handle such pressure. I wasn't pressing her, it's because the witness' answers were never accurate. Then you shouldn't have guided her testimony. If the witness's testimony shows uncertainty, you should bring it up to the court, instead of forcing her to provide a non-existent definite answer as you're doing now. He is kind of crazy. The witness was humming a country tune, but you're trying to steer her with a grand symphony. Witness, you probably weren't sure if you had glanced into the biochemical laboratory, right? That's probably correct, isn't it? The witness has been involved in projects within the center for a long time with little communication with outsiders. The more pressure you put on her, the more likely she will draw erroneous conclusions. Your Honor, am I right? Although I'm not entirely sure what's happening, Prosecutor Schubert seems to make sense. Defense, watch your tone and do not intimidate the witness excessively. Who's the one guiding the witness? This prosecutor is really getting on my nerves. He is a bit crazy. He is using like slightly underhanded tactics, I would say. Anyway, the witness testimony is indeed too vague. What did you say? Which is why I kept confirming. Also find the witness testimony somewhat vague. Defense suggests that perhaps the testimony just now wasn't the witness' full experience. Many details are missing, and it only mentions the part about seeing the defendant wiping the floor, which seems incomplete. Witness, could you carefully recall all your actions within the research center on the day of the incident? All of it? Yes, the court also finds the defendant's request quite reasonable. Prosecutor Schubert? Well, I'll take that as your agreement. Even the judge has a tough time. Well, I'll try my best. Okay, let's think. I had breakfast made by Master Swordin in the morning, so the one we saw like at the beginning of the investigation. After which he seemed to have a serious talk with the deputy director. Then I went to the workshop to organize equipment and heard Zoey being scolded civilly by the director. The workshop. Oh, like in first floor? Around 4 p.m., it started thunderstorming outside. I recall many things from a long time ago. Then a mouse came into the house and I screamed in fright, and Master Swordin came to my rescue. So this, right? Later, after Master Swordin left, I wanted to go out for a walk and met Zoey. Although I don't remember whether I looked into the laboratory, Zoey did have a red stained rag in her hand. So all your actions. I'm not good with words, and I apologize for causing trouble to everyone. This is kind of a messy and disjointed narrative. Luna Xie, I understand why Miss White gives me a feeling that I had seen her on TV. Did she really appear on TV? Not really, actually. It is from when I was in Lemon Village. I watched an anime called Sweet Life with a doll girl with Alta, the doll girl. In it had no heart and could only speak and act according to her owner's command. Oh my god, is she like... Because a sign told us that like number 4 was sent away. But what if number 4 is actually Remily White? And I don't know. The anime defense. According to anime laws, Miss White is a bit like that doll girl. Is she like really like the Model 4 robot? Not completely crazy, I don't know. That's otaku taking Annie to watch such a cheesy anime. Anyway, that's not the point now. Simon mentioned yesterday that she's the only humanoid robot in the center. It feels like a bit pointed, like those comments. A bit too... I don't know. Miss White shouldn't be some doll girl, but I still feel something off about her. Would she be... I don't know. Sorry, I got lost in thought. Please start the questioning. What do I want to press? I mean... Okay, we can ask about like the dispute or whatever. Organizing equipment, is this one of your duties? I suppose so. What time do you usually do this work?
反对。
Defense attorney, compared to the music currently entering my ears, your questions are even less helpful to the case. Objection sustained. Please stick to the relevant topics, defense. I mean... yeah. From a long time ago. What exactly did you remember? My mom and dad...
反对。
Prying to the witness privacy, what relevance does her part have to do with this case? Oh, maybe she is the android, I don't know. If it's the case, I would say that like it's a bit heavy-handed on like the clues, the hints, the foreshadowing from like Annie. Okay, that is quite interesting though. Are there mice in the research center? We know that. In the center,
反对，
what appeared in the workshop at that time was not a real mouse but a mechanical one. Well, what we have said. A mechanical mouse, yes, that's it. I thought it was that too. I guess it's so. Clearly it's something everyone knows, so what's there to object to? It was a prototype made by the victim Joseph Crimson during the early stages of his robot research. I can't remember exactly when Cyan lost, when like model number like 4 was sent away. Was it 1 year ago? I think it was 1 year ago, this show. Which would make, I don't know. Although it had no research value, it roamed around the center. Allowing a mechanical mouse to roam around, Director Crimson's interests were quite unique. I was scared by it on the day of the incident. The mouse was very lifelike, even Luna Xie was startled by it. Spare the details. Considering this is not really surprising that Remedy White was scared by this mechanical mouse, right? It is a bit strange though, no? Like, if you were in here like for 6 years, you should have seen this mouse, and people in the center are used to it. It's normal for an outsider like me to be startled by the furry little animal suddenly appearing, but this mechanical mouse has been roaming around the center for so long. Haven't you gotten used to it, Miss White? Used to it? Seems like I'm not. Another one of those ambiguous answers. What did you think when you saw that mechanical mouse?
反对，
Okay, I think like she is answering by vague. If she is an android, then she is answering by vague sentences because she knows that it would bring like harm to humans. A bit like Zoey or the culprit, probably.
反对，
The case happened in a robotics research center, and the mechanical mouse is also technically a robot. If we don't clarify the question, who knows if it's relevant to the case or not? So this tiny thing is also a robot. Could it transform into a human and fly around in the sky? Probably not. Anyway, since it could be relevant to the case, witness, please answer her question. I'll do my best to recall. At that time I was thinking, if I only brought my black cat from home earlier. What? If only I had brought my black cat from home earlier. Very good use, yes. At the time I was thinking, if only I don't understand
等等，
how it would serve like any purpose to have this information. You have a black cat, a birthday gift from my grandma named Mango. If I had brought it to the research center earlier, I wouldn't have been scared by the mouse. It matches perfectly with Annie's grape. If it were me, I definitely wish to have such a brave cat by my side too, but Grandpa is allergic to cat fur, so I couldn't bring Grape home. Can cat be brought into the center? Did I miss something? At the time, I was thinking if only I had brought my black cat from home earlier. What am I missing? What am I missing here? Is it relevant to the case? I don't know. I wanted to looked.
等等，
Are you sure you saw the defendant holding a red stained rag? I'm sure. No need to hesitate. Why would I hesitate? Just mean, are you really sure? Could it be another mistake, like with the thing in the lab earlier? It's not, I remember it very clearly. There's absolutely no mistake. At the time I was thinking, if only I had brought my black cat from home earlier. I don't know what I'm missing. So this is probably the... Was it when the robot was sent back? No, we said that this was like for the bomb mechanism. Black core wires. A black cat. If only I had brought my black cat from home earlier. If only I had brought... To ensure equipment safety, the center prohibits entry to any biological entities other than humans. Interesting, so how could you... Okay. Oh, I forgot about this point of... Okay, so this is the thing we need to use, but like... What does it mean? Well, she's... Yeah, I mean, she's a robot, right?
反对！
Miss White, your testimony is becoming increasingly peculiar. What did I say wrong this time? Because you were scared by the mechanical mouse, you wish to bring your black cat to the research center. If that's truly what you thought, then I have to doubt whether you're truly affiliated with this center. Witness has been with the center for 6 years, there's no doubt about it. 6 years, that's longer than I expected. Prosecutor Schubert, I don't mean to question the prosecution's inquiry, but this statement from the witness is too illogical. A defense, what do you mean by that? Well, please look at this poster of the research center. The poster lists information about the open day and the free laws of robotics, but the most important thing is this small print at the bottom of the poster. For safety reasons, strict prohibition of entry by any non-human entities. What? Miss White, as a researcher working in the center for many years, it's impossible for you to not know the rule of prohibiting non-human entities from entering. Yet, when you saw the mechanical mouse, your first reaction was, I want to bring a cat in. Having such thoughts is really unreasonable. Miss White, many details of what you said are unclear. How much of your testimony can actually be trusted? The witness has been diligently testifying about the defendant's actions, yet the defense keeps fixating on trivial matters. Your incessant noise is making it unbearable. What I am advocating now is that the testimony of the victim witness is fundamentally unreliable.
反对。
And my conclusion is that the testimony of the witness is indeed credible. You're just shifting the focus of the discussion. It feels different from the fierce rebuttal earlier. Now he wants to have a confrontation with me. Very well. As long as it is not a one-sided attack, I'm not afraid. I must not overlook any loopholes in his language. Okay, so basically, I guess we're nearing the end. So we're just proving that, like, she is a robot here.
会让语言的可信度降低。事实上，我现在就无法相信他的证词是亲眼所见。
Yes.
那只是因为这位证人的证词
The testimony of the witnesses.
你不愿接受，如此而已。证据表明
The evidence shows that the witness has been living in the research center for 6 years. Which is a fact stronger than any words. I mean,
证人在毫无防备之下
Frightened by the student's appearance or
就
something.
算没认出来，也很正常。
Normal, she didn't recognize it.
证人的证词明
The witness testimony
被
clearly
告破坏现
mentioned.
场的举动，纠缠证人本身的。
Is this a vetting game? Kind of. Feel like tampering with the scene, okay?
这段证词值
The
得关
crucial
注的核
point
心
of this
是被告
testimony
掩盖自己罪
is the
行的
defendant's attempt to conceal her crime. I mean, okay. She's been living in the research center for 6 years, okay? I mean, hard to press on that. Frightened by the sudden appearance of something. Detail something. Detail something. Tampering with the scene, I mean, that is true, that is just true, so the defendant attempts to conceal her crime. This is the peculiar part, I think. Oh, by the way, you don't see my cursor. Very interesting. Let me change that. This is like the interesting part of it. Prosecutor Silas is standing in the way of my quest for truth. I must remove this obstacle. Okay, let's press on second, I think.
证人在毫无防备。
反对。据青英小姐所说，
According to Cyan,
整个研究
besides
所里的
herself,
机
the
械
only
生物
mechanical creatures in the entire
除了她自己之外
center
就只有扫地机
are the
器
floor
人、
sweeping
月光
robot,
金字塔
Moonlight
和这只
Pyramid,
机
and
械
this mechanical mouse.
一共就这么2样东西能出现在脚下，
There's
怎么
only
可能会认不出
two
来？
things that could appear at her feet. How could she not recognize it?
反对。遭受突然之间的惊吓，
Faced with a sudden shock, the witness may not have recognized it as a mechanical mouse at all, only seeing a terrifying shadow.
反对。如果证人真的在研究所生活了6年之久，应该早就
She
习
should
惯
have been
这个所谓
accustomed
的突然
to
惊吓
the so-called sudden shock. Yeah, I
就
agree.
算有一瞬间没反应过来，也绝不会把它当成什么可怖的黑影。
She would never mistake it for some terrifying shadow, yeah?
但是听清楚，无论证人是被机械属下，
By the mouse or wanted to bring the cat over,
这都只是证人的内心
in her emotions, he will say that it is irrelevant to the case. And no one can refute them. Yeah, true though, true.
而证人所提供的证词是其他
I
人
mean,
的
we're
内心
just trying to
世界
cast doubt
独一
in
无
her
二的
testimony, on her testimony here. It's unique, not mentioned by anyone
想要
else.
证明他的证词可信度不足，只靠他被老鼠吓到这一点是完全不够的。
He is not wrong. It is indeed not easy to deal with. In such a short time, he already organized the next round of attacks. A new round of counter-attack is about to begin. Listen carefully.
证人面对自己讨厌的老鼠，主观感受的心理活动无法被证伪，
Subjective psychological activity cannot be refuted. Yeah,
而现有证据表明，
evidence shows that during the witness 6 years in the center, she had no contact with other organizations. What does that
一个
mean?
背景清楚干净的证人
Witness with a clear and clean background has no motive to provide false testimony.
证人的证词描述清晰、逻辑合理，
Clear and
还原
logical.
他记忆中的事实，这已然足够。
Capable of reconstructing the facts as she remembers them, which is sufficient. The wording is weird here. There are like two issues I see. Facing the mouse she hates. I mean, not something you can really, argue against. During the witness 6 years in the organization, she had no contact with. In the center, she had no contact with other organization. A bit weird, this word organization. But like, that's my problem. With a clear and clean background, she has no motive to provide false testimony. She was still spending time with people in the center, right? Probably well liked by like the swordsman. Probably well liked by Zoey as well. She could defend them. I mean, she's not defending Zoey here, but like, I don't know. And clear and logical, capable of reconstructing the facts as she remembers them, which is sufficient. I mean, she was not really clear nor logical, to be honest. Like, there was a lot of things she was very unsure of. The sense of the dissonance must be discovered. Okay, let's press on 4th because it's like the weakest part of his counterattack.
反对！证人能够被同在一个建筑内6年的基线属下的魂飞魄散。
Yeah, this fact, coupled with her often vague and hesitant testimony,
他真的清楚地记得当时的一
does she
切吗？
truly remember everything clearly?
反对。他所说的内容
Her testimony aligns with the case and is logically sound.
而且根本没有说谎的
I
痕
mean,
迹
it is. She has no motive to lie.
反对！证人没有动机说谎。
While the witness may
不
lack
代
a
表
motive
他
to
没在说
lie,
谎
it doesn't mean that she isn't lying. Yeah, you could
证人
lie
在作证时
unintentionally.
时常左顾右盼，畏手畏脚，并且不停地做出某个特定的动作。
Some specific gesture.
对此，我其实有一个
A
大胆的
bold
猜测。
speculation. Okay, so what are you coming
这位证人的
with?
证词之所以漏洞百出，
The
模糊
reason the
不清
witness testimony is riddled with inconsistency and ambiguity is because she's extremely afraid of someone in the courtroom. She has memory impairment. Oh, that could work as well. That could indeed work, to be honest. She is a doll girl from an anime. I mean, she could be an android, but that's not exactly the point of option number 3. She is extremely afraid of someone in the courtroom. There's nobody really that I feel would put like pressure on her. She has a memory impairment. That would work. A short-term memory impairment, like she's not remembering details. There's a lot of like every case, like for now we have like a witness or someone that has like a rare disease. It's not a bad idea. She has memory impairment. Because I don't think like that the blood stains have been like cleaned, wiped in like another room than the biochemical laboratory. So she probably may have forgotten the android attack. Cyborg no Shingeki. She has a memory impairment. Can I... Had breakfast, serious talk. School dead. Would that be the trigger? I went to go out for a walk and met Zoey. I don't remember whether I looked into the laboratory. Zoey did have a red stain rag in her hand. I mean, you would remember if you saw the corpse, right? Like, that's not something you could, like, hide, or maybe if you see something so shocking, that shocking, then you're losing memory. I think it makes sense. I'm also trying to think about, like, someone in the courtroom, but, like, nobody is here, technically. Like, it would only be, like, Zoey. Okay, let's go with memory impairment. When asked for details, she became hesitant. That's kind of my problem, is that also like it's not held by the English translation, because the wording is a bit vague. I mean, the entire game is like kind of like a script in the English version, so... Memory impairment. I mean, why not? She can't recall those details.
这样一来，他会被
I think like
机械
we
手下
are, it's a very weird first trial because we are like
就解释得通了。
really talking about,
这位证人没有在说谎，他只是纯粹的
we're really
失
like
忆了。
dancing about very like niche points of the case. We have hit. Instead of like really talking about the modus operandi of the crime, which is like the big problem, right? Like, we still don't know where the victim has fallen or how he died. And we're like just trying to cast suspicion and doubts on the witnesses, which is not like a bad strategy, but it's also like a bit anticlimactic, like for an Ace Attorney game. I guess like the part 2, trial 2, will be like very packed with information because we have so many things to remember. But yeah, the Mecha Mouse was hella scary. I mean, depending on the but because it's like real fur, right? Like I think like this is the very scary part for me. You know, if it was just like a mechanical, I mean, metallic robot or something like that, plastic robot, I would be like, okay, it's nice, it's cute, but like the fact that it has like real fur, absolutely like diabolical. It should not happen. A truly expected conclusion. Okay, are we reaching the end of the trial here? Because I don't think we can like progress more than that. Is that true? Why didn't the prosecution mention it in advance? I can't say. Oh, did she? Is she like a sort of like PTSD and she developed like amnesia for some
找
reason?
死了！
And it's linked to the whole like sky shield thingy. The defense has no evidence. This is baseless speculation. I made this speculation because there is evidence. What? That's impossible. The witness belongs to a confidential project and even the prosecution doesn't have all her information. You only met her for the first time today. How could you have evidence? If you're right, I haven't had this evidence. What are we talking about? What am I missing? What am I missing? Because at this moment, it is not in my hand. What am I missing? It's not in my hand? Who had it? The defense requests an immediate inspection of an exhibit in the courtroom. The robotic taxidermy crossover we needed. We really did not need that. I'm sorry. You want to conduct an emergency search in the courtroom? Such an action could cause chaos. It's not a large-scale search. There's only one place I want to investigate. But you should have said that earlier. Where do you want to investigate? You won't be wrong. We'll call the witness action since entering the courtroom. The answer is clear. Oh, she wants to be like... That's why she's writing like things on her like notebook, because she wants to like keep track of the information for her like because of her amnesia, right? So that's like the point of like Luna. Yeah, I guess. We just need to check the witness seat. To be precise, her personal belongings. Miss White, could you please show me the notebook you had in hand? You have been constantly flipping through it since entering the courtroom, confirming its content whenever I inquire. Okay, interesting use of like, you know, the spriting repetition as well. What exactly is written in the notebook? I think everyone is curious right now. There's nothing in here. It's just a diary, there's nothing in it. With the defense words, I also find your notebook very suspicious. Miss White, there's no so-called personal items in the courtroom. Since you bring it here, the court has the right to inspect it. Is this true? It feels like a crazy thing to say, but... So please hand it over. Poor girl, she is like on the verge of crying right now. In the end, it turned out like this. I can hand over the diary, but there are too many people here. The diary involves your privacy. There is no need to disclose it to so many people. Please have the relevant people stay and the other audience temporarily leave. Under the organization of the byleave, the audience gradually left the courtroom, leaving only us. To be fair, in some ways, I'm kind of surprised that some of like those cases, in Ace Attorney in general as well, are not like closed to the public. But later, Remily White quietly handed over her notebook. Although I was mentally prepared when I actually saw it, I was still too shocked to speak. I never could have imagined that this diary contained such content. To the lovely, it's unreadable. To the lovely and strong little beauty, Remily White, I am you and you are me. The following content may surprise you, but please believe it because it's what you wrote yourself. On March 10th, 2018, you were suddenly seriously injured in a traffic accident and developed cyclical amnesia. Since then, your memory can only last for 7 days, and every Saturday it will return to the night before the accident. What day is it today? Please look up at the electronic calendar. It was specifically bought for you by Master Swordin from Neon. The place, okay, so Neon is where like Charlie Drake is, right? The place you all know is called the Crimson Ultra Realistic Reboot Research Center. Everyone is very nice to you and they accompany you every day and try to cure you. Although everyone likes you and you like them too, unfortunately you don't remember them now. But it's okay, you have written everything that happens every day in this book. Just flip through and you will know. Mom and Dad are away. They will be back soon. Please be a good girl. Keep it up. To love me is to love yourself. Remily White, and it's like the week before. Oh no, it was like just after her accident, I see. There are pages of diaries written by Miss White. From the time she got the notebook, she wrote down every day's happening to prevent herself from forgetting them. These diaries have never been interrupted for 6 years, continuing until the day of the accident. Interesting. That's the case from 6 years ago, right? I mean, from is it the case from 5 years ago, or is it just like, no, because I don't know. I'm sorry, I just lied to you all. As you can see, my memory is still stuck in 6 years ago. My testimony was just from what's written in the notebook. Actually, I don't remember anything. I'm too lazy like to see when in the loop we are in her cyclical amnesia, but the 8th, and we're the 10th, right? We are the 10th right now. So you could like calculate the number of days that is passing and to know like if it has reset or not. This is truly unbelievable. I mean, we know it's resetting every Saturday, right? Every Saturday. Let me check because I think it's following like our calendar. Oh yeah, okay. So the crime took place on a Friday and Saturday was the 9th. Well, okay, so the trial is like on the Sunday or Monday. So like she got her memory wiped just after the crime. I express deep sympathy for your role and I hope you don't mind our earlier words. It's okay. Why didn't you tell us about it from the beginning? I was a participant in the confidential project and my condition was also part of it. Before the trial, Prosecutor Schubert and I made an agreement to do our best to conceal this matter. This is also a running theme of like again, in every case, someone has like a disease and the prosecution is like really taking care that their privacy is respected. And I think this is like a running theme of like detective fiction, especially nowadays. And I really like that, especially in Kindaishi, in QED. It's also kind of like the case in Detective Conan, but not too much, because Detective Conan is probably the most honkaku of like all of them. But there is this idea of like there is a burden of being a detective, because like you're trying to dig for a truth that shouldn't appear in the light. You don't need to know the truth. You don't need to know everything. And as a detective, and this is the curse of the detective, is that you will only bring, not only, but you are forced to bring some pain to the people around you in the investigation. But surely you can't give a reliable testimony with this condition. But that is kind of like, I mean, you could argue, I think like even more than I would say like in case 2, it made sense to like conceal like the illness. I think here like Silas, but also because Stella is very much a very honorable prosecutor. I think that Silas is not a bad guy, but he doesn't mind using like underhanded tactics. So I do get like the agreement, but also for Silas, it was also a way to win more easily. And it's kind of, but it's kind of like why it's a curse. Like the curse of the detective is that you still have to dig for it. You are a detective, you need to dig for the truth. It's just, it will hurt people, and that you cannot like avoid the pain that you're causing to people. And I think a lot of fiction right now is kind of highlighting that. It's also the case in Keigo Higashino, in all of this new like current, new movement of like social writing. It's like people don't always tell the truth, but there's a good reason for it. There is a good reason for it. And as a detective, I think like your goal is kind of like trying to find a middle ground. And sometimes, yes, you don't have a choice and you need like to hurt people. But it's like, can you live with yourself basically? And I think the answer, at least in like Kindaishi, because Kindaishi Shonen no Jikenbo, the original series was with Hajime Kindaishi as a teenager, as a high school student. And then after the end of like the 2 first series, it transitioned into Kindaishi Sanjunara Sai no Jikenbo. So when he was like 37 and he became an office worker. And when you start the series, you learn that like Kindaishi stopped being a detective. And we don't really have a reason for that. And then you learn that the reason is that there are some cases that just hurt people around him, and that he felt that continuing to be a detective would just bring like a lot of unhappiness and suffering to the people around him, people that sometimes he didn't know, but also people that he did know. And that was the case in his last very personal stake case with a lot of very close friends. And there's this beautiful case where it's kind of like a reunion with Kindaishi. So this is like shonen. So as a teenager, but where he is going like to like a class reunion with like people in middle school, I think, something like that. And there is a murder, and it's like, yeah, you know, like the murderer is one of your friends. It's literally one of the people in this grand group, in this friends group, has killed 2 people. And it's like, obviously you want to like investigate to know the truth, but also like, it's just sad, right? It's just like a pathetic situation, and because people are just dead, you cannot come back from it. And there's like this feeling of like, what is my purpose at the end? And well, the way for Kindaichi to get out of this is really to like argue for like a sort of like rehabilitative justice, being like, yeah, you will be like behind bars, but this is not the end, and then we are building something new when you'll get out of prison. And that's the case in QED as well. That's those. I would say those type of like detective media, detective fiction works, they don't give an answer. It's just like life is sad. People lie. It's not necessarily a bad thing. This is also sometimes to protect yourself. Like we are not machines. And that's kind of the point of like the back and forth between the defense in those games, between the defense and the prosecutors. It's not to like, we don't press people for fun. We are trying to extract some truth, knowing that for some reason they will be lying. Sometimes because they are the culprits, sometimes because they have issues, sometimes because there are many like different causes for that. And it's as like a detective, as like a lawyer, how do you deal with that? With like putting forward all those emotions like in the forefront. Like the law process, I do believe, is not entirely devoid of emotion. Obviously, there are some limits. I think in Japan right now, it's very crazy. I've written about it, but like the family of like the victim is able to testify in court and like they have the closing argument basically. The family will come at the very end of the trial and they will say something to the jury, and the trial ends with this. And because of that, all those like family and acquaintances like testimonies are very emotionally loaded. They would try to like sway the jury towards like a guilty and a harsher sentence, because obviously they are like, oh yeah, you know, like my son died and it's like we should like literally kill the criminal because it's absolutely insane. And there's like an entire thing in Japan where like the tears of the family is kind of like weaponized. It's like a very, very known weapon in court, to the point where there has been like some steps to like change the judicial system to like not give as much like emotional power to the family. But in the flip side, I don't think that like a trial can only be mechanical. You have to have some sort of like some amount of empathy for absolutely everyone that is like involved in the case. There's a big thing, we talked about that last time or whatever, but like one of the motto of Detective Conan in the anime is like there is only one truth, and again, it's not true. There's as many truths as there are people, because it is also about the personal perspective on a case. And I think it's always about trying to find like a middle ground, trying to, I don't know, strive for a better society, to repair the wrongs and to go from there. Like the crime has already been committed, and it's like, and now what? And now what are we doing? We should just like try to repair, to mend the social, I think, greed, the social bonds of the society, the social bonds that are like, again, binding, tying with each other, all like the people that are living in this society, in this community. And obviously, like this is my opinion, because I'm very much like, it's not that I don't like, the tricks in detective fiction. You see how I play, like I really play also for like the trick, for the stratagem. But for me, the important part is like, what do you do with this? Because there's a lot of like orthodox fiction where it's just like, oh, we're here for the trick, and like the motive is basically just like, I hate women, or like literally it doesn't go beyond that, or just he stole like some money from lunch, and it's like, you're not taking crimes seriously. If like some people have like created an insane stratagem to avoid suspicion, surely there's a reason behind this. You don't go through all this trouble for fun. And it doesn't even have to be like, you know, explicitly told, but like, again, why would you create this stratagem is like what I like about detective fiction, modern detective fiction. And often the reason is like social. But that's my opinion from someone that is very shakaiha, very social school of detective fiction, that thinks that like a trick cannot exist like in a vacuum. A trick is always a product of like circumstances and material context. Okay, why are we talking about that? I don't know. Yeah, because like you made an agreement with him to conceal the matter. So Prosecutor Schubert, you knew about this? Yes. The witness is a volunteer for a project at the center. Due to the peculiarity of her memory, she could be the subject for a certain experiment. Interesting. Was it like some sort of like, again, like making her a doll or giving like her, you know, some memory chip or whatever? The prosecution was entrusted by the center's management to conceal the above facts. It is indeed inappropriate to disclose such information with so many people present in the courtroom just now. Again, to be fair, that's why you have like closed also sessions. Witness, if the contents of your diary are true, you should only, and both the defense and the prosecution can apply to like those like closed audience. You should only have memories of this research center for a few days, right? To be precise, my memory just reset yesterday. So this is indeed like a trial that is taking place on Sunday. Only one day. I'm still not used to this identity, but every single day of the 6 years recorded in this diary seems very interesting. This is very sad. I read it over and over again and I couldn't get enough of it. I really wish I could experience those things myself. This is crazy. Miss White. There's only one thing they refuse to tell me that I can guess. My mom and dad, they are no longer in this world, right? There's not a single word about them in the diary. If they were still alive, they wouldn't they have come to see me for 6 years? Remily, don't say such things. It's okay, Zoey, I'm not alone in the center. Though I always forget everyone, you can accept me over and over again. It's crazy, I'm going to cry. To me, you're all my family. Damn. Endless trauma spiral, oh no. Miss White, I can completely understand your feelings, but no, one of your family members, Director Crimson, has passed away. Is Zoey Sapphire really the one who killed him? We must uncover the truth. I don't think you'd want anything to go wrong in this trial, right? That's for sure, but even though I want to help, I really have forgotten everything about that day. While the witness memory may no longer exist, her diary holds strong reference value. The prosecution has already conducted the handwriting analysis, and the content recorded on incident day are genuine and valid. Despite the uproar caused by the defense, the situation hasn't changed. Is it really the case? Miss White's submitted evidence has indicated a brand new lead. The witness already mentioned the content of the diary during her testimony, right? Yes, but the most crucial thing about this diary isn't the content itself. To be precise, the most important clue in the diary is here. I cannot read what is written, unfortunately. This is a bit cooked. Perhaps the defense is still too old to comprehend. There's literally a torn page, by the way. You're the same age as me. Miss Ray, this won't do. You should maintain a youthful mindset like me. Please give me another chance. Oh, I just clicked like, okay. Without realizing. It's this torn mark. When did this happen? Miss White, do you have a habit of tearing paper when keeping a diary? No, I think we should protect the forest and save paper. Even if I make a mistake, I just make corrections, but I would never tear paper for no reason. And then it's making your your notebook very ugly because you have this torn mark +2. That's a relief. What do you mean by that? Since Miss White never tears paper, then this tear can only be done by someone else. Perhaps on the day of the incident, Miss White witnessed something that would expose the real murderer. Knowing her habit of keeping a diary, the murderer quietly tore off this page. Really? Nonsense. Your inference is entirely based on the assumption that the murderer was someone else. The one who tore off this page could very well be the defendant Zoey Sapphire, who had sufficient motive and opportunity. In Miss White diaries, there is a clear passage about witnessing Zoey Sapphire wiping away bloodstains. If it was Zoey Sapphire who tore the diary, why would she leave such incriminating content about herself? Pretty strong argument. The defense has a point. If the defendant had ever touched the diary, it is unlikely she'd leave this page behind. Even if it's not Zoey Sapphire who tore this page, it doesn't prove that it must be the so-called real murderer. Is it a murderer like inside inside the laboratory? I mean the center? Because we only have oh, the swordsman is not here, but we only have the swordsman and Cyan. Would Cyan? I don't know. We also have Simon Goldstein. It's a very tight cast of suspect though. We don't know what's written on this page, and we can't even confirm its relevance to the case. That's precisely why the defense believe a thorough investigation is necessary in the case. We don't know who tore off this page and what was written on it. I don't know, and neither do you, Prosecutor Schubert. How can we hastily conclude the case before significant clues are clarified? Ugh. Enough, both of you calm down. Sorry. Did I cause trouble for everyone again? You are not. You should be protected. I don't think you've been a great help just now. Let me share my views. Since the witness memory is questionable and the court cannot simply rely on her testimony, the defense mention of the torn diary, while not proving its relevance to the case, is still an important lead. To be cautious, the court has decided to temporarily suspend the trial of this case. We finally survived today. Who tore the page of the diary and what was written on it? Also, how do we explain the various peculiarities about the director's cause of death? For me, this is the big thing. We still don't have enough clues to conclude or to have a serious method of the crime. I'm pretty on a purely narrative perspective, I really like the idea of something accelerating through the entire length of the building to crash at the end. But who knows? Who knows? Also, how would we explain the various... Oh yeah, these questions are left for both sides to investigate. Prosecutor Schubert? Yes. Many of the rooms at this center had been locked down to protect confidentiality. After today's trial, I believe there are enough reasons to request a search of all the areas. It will probably take us 2 sessions to finish if we need to investigate all the areas. Very well, today's court session concludes here. I look forward to your performances tomorrow. Very interesting. We'll just read the conclusion and then we'll stop there, obviously. Finally back. I mean, perhaps we should wait here. I thought we would have some conclusion. I mean, we can read. Trials of Dark Souls +2. Much better. I've been to that courtroom a few months ago, but standing at the assistant seat like today felt totally different. I was just an assistant like you, doing odd jobs for the chief. Looking back, I still have a long way to go compared to him. But I think your defense style is more thrilling. I mean, it's that we are more like on the back foot, but we still have plenty of time today. What should we do next? We will go back to the research center to continue yesterday's investigation. I'll go pack up then. Before the court adjourned, the judge mentioned that many areas in the research center were once sealed. They will be open today. Okay, let's just talk to you and then we stop. What do you think of today's trial? I think you were a hero. We faced many difficulties, but you handled them all one by one. You're flattering me. It's all thanks to you that we could make it through. Even though Miss White's diary shifted the situation at the last minute, it was just coincidence. We still haven't hit the core of the case or found any other suspects. Exactly. It's luck that made us through the first day, which is kind of sometimes the problem that I have with like Ace Attorney, is that the first trial is not very interesting. Is that so? But in the animes I've been watching, they always say luck is part of one's strength. If luck can help us win this case, I would definitely be recorded in our office history. And that Prosecutor Silas Schubert, so weird and annoying. Yeah, he seemed like a completely different person when he took off his headphones. Do you think those headphones are the seal of his power? I don't think such a thing exists in reality. Speaking of which, feels like I've seen his hair color and gaze somewhere before. Yeah. Maybe it's just my illusion, something like from a case like 5 years ago, right? Anyway, the case has been dragged to the second day, we need to work hard today. By the way, this case has been in trial for a day already, but we have still lots of questions. We still haven't figured out how Director Crimson died. I think this is for me again my main concern. Something wrong with the whole falling to death theory is 100%. And there's something suspicious about the depth pit mentioned by Prosecutor Schubert. I don't think it was a fall in the pit. We might as well check it out. Or maybe we... but it should have... There has been like some traces of luminol, but at the same time you could have like sprinkled some blood there for some reason. What about Miss White's diary? Who tore it off? If Miss White happened to notice the murderous trace before and after the incident and recorded it, the person who tore off the diary is likely the murderer. Yes, I do agree. It's just a possibility after all, not evidence. If we could find the torn page of the diary, we will, as long as it is out there, we will keep searching for it. I mean, if you're the culprit and you just tore off the page, just burn it. Why would you like keep it somewhere? Just burn the page. The investigation will be tough today. We still have lots of work to do. Besides investigating the research center, we should also go to the detention center and visit Miss Sapphire, right? Yes, I know I've known what she did during the incident, but to know about the research center, it's better to ask her directly. We can probably do that first, yes. Prosecutor Schubert said that more areas of the research center will be open for investigation today. Yeah, exactly, that's what we should take a look at. More evidence. Can my backpack hold all those things? The hero's backpack is infinite. What are you talking about? Okay, so what have we discarded, by the way? Not a lot, to be honest. We have discarded the mouse for some reason. Weather report is... No, the weather report has been discarded as well. Okay. Time to go. We can walk to the detention center and then take a bus to the research center. Let me take care of the door and lights. She is so helpful. What a good kid. Very, very good. Let's save that in here and we'll continue it next week, probably on Friday. But that should be all for today. So the program for next week, before we leave, the program for next week, we have on Wednesday the Mooming episode. Mooming in Japan. So it will be a short presentation. I'm expecting it to be like, if you remember, we kind of like did some sort of like presentation and then we transitioned into like another game. We won't do that. I'll do the presentation, we'll yap a bit before and after, and we'll just leave that. Very, very eager to talk about Mooming. I think it's a very interesting thing. And as I told you, Sigrid, and other people, I do get the appeal of Mooming. On Monday, probably we'll play Marvelous, and we'll continue this case on Friday, and that should be like the planning of the week, the next week. And I will take a break probably after this week. It will be a break of 1 or 2 weeks, I don't know. I just want to rest, and also I want to focus on some projects that are like, you know, off stream, like research project and other things. So yeah, anyway, thank you very, very much for tuning in today. I hope that the trial was interesting. Can we check if someone is streaming, by the way? Raid channel. Someone that I am following. I mean, someone is streaming like Spirit of Justice, but like it's the very... I think it's the ending of it's the last case, so I don't know. And I don't exactly know this person, so I need to check it. Okay, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.